Hi guys, welcome back. I just wanted to thank you all for 5.6 trillion subscribers. To celebrate, I will be dropping a video later this week where we put 5.6 trillion sprinkles on a cake because obviously that's what you guys want. Grind culture is an epidemic that has taken a serious toll on the mental health of students nationwide. Many students are finding themselves in a state of burnout and exhaustion, especially during their senior year when they need to begin applying to colleges. It's easy to fall into a rabbit hole and constantly check the websites of colleges for what their ideal candidates look like. These words on college websites describing the perfect applicant reverberate in the minds of many students as they are filling out their applications. Although these websites are helpful, students often begin to feel a need to change themselves in order to fit the college's expectations. While media depictions often fall short, there have been a few successes that capture the stressful nature of college applications. Ryan Murphy's The Politician is a great example of this, vividly depicting the difficulty of the college admissions process. The show follows the main character, Peyton Hobart, who is played by Ben Platt. Peyton aspires to go to Harvard, and when he finds himself at a Harvard interview, he totally chokes. When the interviewer asks him to dig deeper past his academic pursuits, Peyton struggles to talk about himself. This struggle stems from the sheer fact that Peyton does not have a sense of self beyond his academics. When he is prompted to discuss himself beyond the academic scope, he fails to speak. Through his character, we see how excessive focus on academics can lead to emotional numbness and a narrow worldview, rendering him a one-dimensional character. Another great example of grind culture in film is the movie Booksmart. In the course of the film, the characters Amy and Molly invest all of their time working to get into Yale and Columbia. They gloat to their peers about their achievements, the achievements they believed set them apart from their peers who had not worked as hard. However, they discover that their unmotivated classmates who spent the entire school year partying got accepted into prestigious universities as well. After this discovery, Amy and Molly grapple with the sudden realization that their commitment to the grind was unnecessary. Their peers who sacrificed studying in order to focus on their social life ended up in the same exact position as them, ultimately rendering their academic efforts useless. The Politician follows the same framework of having an overachiever as the main character, and having the overachiever realize that their hard work was ultimately for nothing. As Peyton runs for the student body president role, his more attractive, popular competition is winning by a landslide. Despite Peyton's belief that he is the better candidate, his classmates believe otherwise. He is confronted with the reality that no matter how hard he works, hard work and intelligence does not outweigh popularity. Both narratives provoke the question, if people can succeed without putting in extensive effort, what do we gain from grind culture? A Polish university, SWPS, explored a related question in a 2021 study. The researchers found that individuals who placed a high value on hard work and delayed gratification demonstrated stronger intrinsic motivation and a heightened drive to achieve. While this all sounds encouraging in theory, it does not always translate to the lived experience of many students today. The SWPS study assumes that motivation is an intrinsic process, but in reality, many students are pushed into grind culture not by their own intrinsic motivation, but by a deep-seated fear of failure. When college admissions and job markets prioritize resumes over well-being, students pursue success and overachievement because they are afraid that if they do not pick this route, they will fail. This environment does not encourage growth, rather it encourages burnout. Both The Politician and Booksmart follow high-achieving students who come face-to-face with the harmful effects of overachieving and grind culture. In The Politician, Peyton's Harvard interview exposes how empty his carefully crafted resume really is. Likewise, in Booksmart, Amy and Molly realize that following every rule did not give them an advantage in life. These narratives illustrate how the overachiever mindset can distort not only our understanding of success, but also our sense of self. Students often feel like their identity is being a student and not a human. When students like Peyton Hobart are asked about their personal life in an academic setting, it is often jarring and shocking because students are not accustomed to the idea of mixing their academic life with their personal life. An example of this is when seniors go to high school. They go from writing rhetorical analysis to college essays. The shift from a third-person to first-person perspective calls attention to the gap between students' knowledge of discussing outside perspectives and their own personal ones. As students lose their sense of self, there is a call to shift our focus from grind culture to intentional self-care. In an article for the wellness company Well Intel, Dr. Sarah Lee, a psychologist, and Kelty McGillivray, a former psychiatric nurse practitioner, discuss what they call the burnout epidemic, my apologies, noting that it is essentially prominent among young people who are just beginning their career journey. Students are navigating a path towards successful careers while being bombarded by messages that glorify relentless productivity. The messages are not only coming from school, but also the media that they consume. Television shows such as Suits, Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, they all promote a strong work ethic with little to no prioritization of self-care and mental health. These abnormal and dramatized depictions of the workplace create unrealistic expectations for students who are soon to enter the workplace. Many aspire to be the best closer, like Harvey Specter, or the cold-hearted, hyper-focused surgeon, like Christina Yang, or working around the clock, like Olivia Pope. These characters glorify what is often referred to as the workaholic mindset, which stems from grind culture. Psychologists Spence and Robbins define a workaholic as someone who feels driven or compelled to work not because of external demands or pleasure in work, but because of inner pressures that make the person distressed or guilty about not working. This mirrors the pressure many students feel today. There is pressure not necessarily to be happy, but to avoid falling behind. The line between ambition and fear becomes blurry when success is framed as an unhealthy devotion to productivity. Films like The Social Network romanticize grind culture. The movie follows young Mark Zuckerberg as he builds Facebook, portraying the great lengths he went through in order to be successful. In the film, Mark Zuckerberg was sleep-deprived and he betrayed his close friends for profit. These characters are powerful representations of relentless productivity, and their stories send the message that if you work hard enough, you can reach their level of success. For young developing minds such as high schoolers and college students, these portrayals can be deeply damaging. Students watch these depictions and adopt the harmful mindsets these fictional characters have. I'm going to go out on a limb here and I'm going to invent a new word, productivizing. It's a verb. To productivize is to take a mundane task and find a way to make it productive. The productivizing mindset seeps into our everyday behavior. Writer and editor Apurva Tadapalli, who received her MA in journalism from NYU, observes that there is an uproar in the act of productivizing and that people find ways to make trivial tasks seem productive. Some examples include cold showers, mixing apple cider vinegar into drinking water, and other practices that contribute to the glorification of productivity. But what actually counts as productivity, and what do we stand to gain from chasing it at all costs? While productivity can lead to success, as shown by the SWPS study, there is an urgent need for radical self-care in our society. Riyad Shahjawan, a professor at Michigan State University, firmly believes that self-care has roots within social justice. Marginalized communities have embraced self-care as a means of reclaiming control over their own health and well-being. This is especially necessary in academic institutions that demand relentless output while ignoring the structural inequalities built into the foundations of our society, which serve to oppress marginalized groups such as women. Self-care was essential to the women's and civil rights movements, and self-care is not only a personal subject, but rather a political one too. In a world that pushes for people to be as productive as possible, it is difficult to let go of these harmful standards and focus on your own mental health and well-being instead. Grind culture creates the fear that if you are not ahead, you are falling behind.
I was so ahead of the curve became a sphere. Fell behind all my classmates and I ended up here.
And while these standards have shown to lead to success, our standards are increasingly rising, and at the rate we are going, it is impossible to be successful unless you sacrifice your own well-being. My lights low-key just turned off. They're motion censored. I have to wave around this little can of deodorant just to... because my arms are too short. Anyway. Television and film Both have the power to expose and reinforce grind culture. As viewers, we must critically engage with the media we consume and stay aware of how it shapes our values, ambitions, and our overall sense of self. I hope you all took something away from this video essay on how grind culture is portrayed in film and how it affects students across America. Stay tuned for my sprinkles video next week if I survive finals week. If not, no video. Bye guys! To celebrate they're filling out their applications. I sound very like I'm reading a script. Flat. Peyton aspires to go to college. Harvard. He aspires to go to Harvard.